Okay, everybody, if I can ask you to move right along. We're at the appointed hour. Okay, quickly, go ahead. If you really have to go, go. Okay. We'll take another. Oh, okay.
I need four.
But-
I need four.
So if Al grabs his seat, we're all ready to go. And we're a little past the appointed hour. So with that, I'm going to start with our Indigenous land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather and which the region of Peel operates as part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous people inhabited and cared for this land. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwa Chippewa peoples, the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are grateful to have this opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respects to its first inhabitants. And I'm going to start with roll call. I believe all members are present. I know they're here.
Yes.
Mayor Crombie, I saw just in the back, and I just saw Ahmed. So as far as I'm concerned, all members are here imminently to be here. And before we go on, what I wanted to do was, I'm sorry I'm a little furtive, but we just gotten back from a marvelous meeting at headquarters where the Premier was in attendance with an amazing announcement for Peel Regional Police and for the province as a whole in policing. And what I thought I might do is, Chief, why don't you tell us about how well the morning went?
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, Board. And it is a real privilege to have the opportunity just to speak briefly to the announcement that was made this morning. The province chose to host it in Peel, and the announcement was for a provincial grant that is intended to reduce and eliminate auto theft. It's called a Reduce, Enforce, and Protect Against Auto Theft grant. And what we received today was a grant for $900,000 over three years. It will contribute to enhancing our ability to enforce auto theft here in Peel Region. But as the board knows more than anybody, the investments that have been made here with expanding our auto theft team from the last year right now down to all the projects and initiatives are a remarkable investment. So what we'll be able to do is train additional officers in auto theft within the divisions. It's going to enhance or supplement our auto theft investigative response as well as our commercial auto theft bureau. And Deputy Milinovich is I'm not here right now, but just wanted to say that it was a significant announcement. We had all of our policing partners from other municipalities here. Obviously, this is not fixed to one jurisdiction, but across multiple jurisdictions. Even as close as last night, we had a very dramatic carjacking in Peel. The vehicle was stolen from Halton, came into Peel, and with the assistance of our air support from York Regional Police, the aviation unit, we were able to arrest the individuals. So we're saying that almost 1 an hour here in Peel, 20 a day. It is a significant impact on our municipality. So the announcement is definitely an assistance to us in our work.
The only thing that I very well done, Chief. The only thing that I would add is the Premier went to great lengths, as did the Chief, to say that all car theft is bad, but when it's getting to the point that they're breaking down people's homes in the middle of the night. Yeah. And the Premier went out of his way to say, I don't want any car stolen. But now that it's getting to that point and people have to fear for their safety and there could be an unfortunate interdiction in somebody's hallway. And so the Premier was very, very duly moved by it, as was the Chief. And so a time to redouble our efforts. So we're certainly grateful for the announcement. With that and with apologies, some of us were there at 7:50 this morning and are only just rushing back. I know my colleagues had a fulsome meeting this morning. Yes. Oh, please go ahead, Mayor Crombie.
Sorry, I pressed the button. So obviously, we're very grateful for the funding, but we seem to be regarded as the auto capital theft here. So of this 19 million, how much is Peel Region eligible for? Have we been allocated any funding?
Yes, Your Worship. So the allocation for the auto theft grant for Peel Region is 900,000.
Of the 19 million?
Of the 19, do we have the breakdown of it? Is all encompassing other? There's a bail grant and a few other ones that are coming in different pieces.
And what will the
And
900,000 allow us to do?
the 900,000 will allow us to, there's four things that we'll be doing here is training divisional officers to assist on a 6-month rotation to our auto theft unit. As I mentioned, and Nick has mentioned before, we're hoping to host industry partners,
Right.
auto theft. So it'll
And
go
we
to
are in March, so.
it'll go to supplement our ongoing activities.
Right, but of the 19 million, the 900,000 is really very small amount, given that we are facing such an incredible impact here in Peel Region. So it really is insufficient for our needs. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. So with that, as I was saying, my apologies that I got here late. We always get a bit of a briefing and some additional reading materials that I haven't a chance to go through, and I want the meeting run efficiently, and I have supreme confidence in my vice chair. So I've reached out to Councillor Coley, Vice Chair Coley, if she could take over the chair for me while I get caught up, and at least you're all in good hands, with apologies that I'm just walking in the door coming from the announcement. So Vice Chair Coley, if you could, please. Thank you.
Good, I have no idea what I'm doing. Good morning. No, give me a minute to get caught up. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that update. So I think we're going to move to the Peel Police Services Board, Section 10, Ontario Provincial Police Public Agenda. So just a roll call. Okay, sorry, I will repeat that again. Roll call, Commander Kearns is present. She did not, so that was good, she heard me. Declaration of conflict of interest? Nothing, none. Approval of minutes, minutes from the public section 10 board meeting held on Friday, September 22nd. Can I have somebody move it? Mayor Brown, Al Boughton, seconded. Everyone okay, recommendations, the minutes of the OPB section board meeting held on Friday, September 22nd is passed. New business, OPP 2023 third quarter operations statistical analysis report. I'm going to turn it over to you, Commander Kearns.
Yes, good morning, everyone. You can hear me okay. I do apologize. I actually am off this week, but I did not want to miss the opportunity to see all of you, and especially Al Boughton, of course. The third quarter report, I just want to remind everybody that it goes from July 2023 to September 2023. First, speak briefly about public complaints. Currently, there is 2 public complaints that are ongoing in Caledon OPP. We're going to move from there and we're going to discuss motor vehicle collisions. And the Caledon OPP have seen an increase in fatal collisions over this past quarter. In total, there have been 6 recorded fatal collisions in Caledon in the months of July to September of 23, compared to 3 in the same period last year. 3 of these collisions involve motorcycle riders which were killed as a result of the crashes they were involved in. 3 of these collisions were related to vehicles either attempting to pass other vehicles on a single lane type highway or vehicles veering into an oncoming lane for unknown reasons, resulting in a head-on type collision. 3 of these collisions involve vehicles colliding in an intersection where the at-fault driver failed to yield the right-of-way. The Caledon OPP continues to aim to eliminate these preventable collisions from reoccurring by being proactive in our approach. This proactive approach we know will greatly assist in preventing these deaths from happening on our roadways. One of the proactive things we are doing at the detachment is having members work with our community partners in the region and finding collaborative ways to reduce and eliminate fatal collisions on our roadways. We actively attend and participate in reviewing all fatal collisions through the Region of Peel's review team for fatal collisions. This committee allows community partners to dissect and look at each tragic event to look for changes that can be made, with prevention being the goal of the committee. Of note, this November 17th, the Region of Peel's Vision Zero group met for their 10th time since it was started. During this meeting, stakeholders were able to provide updates from their respective areas of expertise, as well as provide meaningful feedback to one another's. These meetings are informative and a great demonstration of the positive impact partners can bring through discussing these very unfortunate events. For this third quarter, the OPP has conducted 3 separate traffic road safety campaigns targeting the most common factors we are seeing involved in collisions on our roadways. These factors being the lack of occupant seatbelt compliance, drivers who are speeding, drivers being distracted by some means in the vehicle, and drivers who are impaired by alcohol or drugs. So the provincial traffic campaigns conducted through this third quarter were the Operation Safe Driver, which took place in July, the Civic Day Long Weekend, which took place in August, and the Labor Day Long Weekend, which took place in September. Again, the Caledon OPP was a leader amongst OPP detachments in these initiatives. In total, Caledon issued approximately 763 offense notices to drivers during these provincial traffic campaigns. On top of the traffic campaigns run provincially, the Caledon OPP conducted our own local traffic initiatives jointly with members of the MTO. One of the local initiatives was conducted on Highway 10, which has been the subject to a number of traffic complaints over the years. And unfortunately, over the years, this provincial highway has also claimed the lives of far too many victims of motor vehicle collisions. During this campaign, 282 offense notices in Caledon, mainly for speeding on Highway 10. The Dufferin OPP and the Grey County OPP also conducted enforcement jointly on Highway 10 with the Caledon OPP. The quarter 3 report accurately reflects the increased enforcement being done on Caledon roadways. Year to date, there has been a 17.9 increase in highway traffic charges laid and a 28.6% increase in criminal code driving offenses laid by our members in Caledon. It is anticipated that our fourth quarter results will also reflect our commitment to keeping our Caledon roadways safe through enforcement. We're going to discuss now some highlights in regards to the violent crime. During our third quarter, there was a noted slight decrease in benchmark crime in Caledon. We saw 6 robberies occur, which is an increase from 2022. 3 of these robberies were carjackings. 1 of the robberies was solved, 4 of these robberies remain open, and 1 of them remains unsolved. Although we have seen an increase in carjackings through this quarter, crime is working with our community partners as well as street crime, as well as a new provincial task force that our chief has already alluded to combat these increases. Sexual assaults during this period remain the same as they were in the second quarter. Assaults during this period showed a marked decrease over the same period in 23. In this quarter, we have seen a decrease in fraud investigations. However, there is a marked increase in frauds being investigated because of a pilot project that we have created in Caledon. Having someone in that position has allowed for more frauds to be investigated properly and obviously have a better success rate when it comes to laying charges. Beyond the incidents reported during this third quarter, overall we have seen a slight drop of violent crime. However, Caledon Major Crime continues to be consistently busy with major cases, attempt murders, and murder investigations. Generally speaking, the nature of our investigations are organized crime related, which are labor intensive, long drawn out investigations that require many resources. I want to speak briefly on our drug crime and some other things. I'm going to highlight first a robbery and again, an increase in the number of incidents. We have seen an uptick in home invasions and carjackings, which would contribute to this increase. As Brampton grows into Caledon and the increase in population happens, we would expect to see this increase. We also see with the proliferation of high-end automobile thefts, we see the increase in carjackings and home invasions for vehicle keys. For break and enters, there's a decrease in the number of incidents this quarter compared to the same last quarter. Unsure why there's a difference for this specific quarter, but year-to-date numbers are very close. The OPP has continued to provide the public with tools to combat break-ins, auto theft, etc., through our community partnerships and our partnerships with the media. For our theft over, which includes stolen vehicles, there has been a decrease in the number of incidents this quarter and year to date. Caledon has seen an increase in auto theft, but perhaps a decrease in other types of theft over occurrences is what is contributing to this decrease. Drug crime is comparable numbers year to year. Many of our street crime drug trafficking cases involve charges in Brampton or Toronto. This is due, again, to the majority of our drug traffickers residing outside of Caledon. Because of this, the majority of our drug trafficking charges and warrants are through Toronto or Brampton courts. The property crime clearance rate, there is a minor decrease. This would be in relation to the increase in stolen vehicles. We are seldom making arrests in these cases. Suspects do reside in our jurisdictions, but unfortunately it's very difficult in regards to evidence that we are currently obtaining in regards to these cases. The drug crime clearance rate, there is a slight increase. As drug possession is no longer a prosecuted offense, most occurrences are generated by officers, mostly street crime officers, and most investigated drug offenses result in charges. These are just some of the highlights I wanted to share with you today. I understand that there might be some questions today for me from the floor.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming in. I know you're off this week, so thank you for that. I'm going to open it up to our board members. And first up is Mr. Al Boughton.
Good morning. Thank you, Commander. As usual, your report is well received by all of us. Back over the last couple of years, we saw the amount of charges that were laid under Highway Traffic Act was down, and a lot of that was because your detachment was down a dozen officers, or 10 or 12. There was some mat leaves and that type of thing. Is your complement where it should be now? And is that why the numbers are the way they are? And I have a second question, but I'll let you answer that one first.
Okay. Well, I can tell you happily that in the last 6 months, we have been getting new members into the detachments, not only new recruits. In our last class out of September, we got 8 new recruits. Our next class, which is slated for February, we're getting another 6 new recruits, as well as we've had some experienced police officers from other areas come over to us. We just actually received 3 new ones in the past 2 weeks, which is a great advantage. As well as, I'm happy to say that provincially we ran a case where we gave officers throughout Ontario opportunities to work at different detachments. And I'm happy to say that as a result of that, we've had several members decide to transfer into Caledon. They like the area, they like the community support, and 3 of those officers have just come to us in the last little day. So to answer your question, Mr. Boughton, yes, we have seen an increase. Plus, we have been very assertive in running different campaigns throughout the year. So during this past year, while I've been the commander, you have seen an increase in traffic. And I have to say, thankfully for the hard work of the members of the Caledon Detachment and the different partnerships we not only have with Peel, but other OPP detachments, we've been doing a lot of different joint initiatives in the area, specifically of traffic, that have aided in this increase.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And again, through you, Chair, I had reported to your division some stunt driving activity that was happening, and the officer that came out and I had a ride around with him, he was from Toronto, and you had recruited him out of TPS. Can't take anybody from Peel, just thought I'd throw that in. That you
We
can
are
take.
recruiting from Peel as well.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. But great officer, 21 years at TPS, and how pleased he was to be working at the Caledon Detachment. So kudos to you and your team. And my second question, again through you, Chair, there was obviously a well-publicized, high-visibility murder on Monday in Caledon that involved illegal trucking operation, and it's a home invasion, 3 people shot, and all that. And I know with the Caledon Detachment, I think it would be useful for the board to hear, and maybe through both you and Chief Duriappa, to let the board know how something like that is handled, because you came through major crime, just so the board understands what happens when something like that, which is right on the border of Brampton and Caledon, and then what you do and how you work with the chief for something like that with major crime. So if you could do that, that would be great. Just spend a couple of minutes for the good of the board.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, as much as I joke about things, we in policing, not just with Peel, but across the province right now, and really across the country, we are really forming partnerships like we've never seen before, which is fantastic, first of all. I can explain a homicide in regards to the OPP. Why? Because I came from that division. It's a criminal investigation branch, and they are detective inspectors that travel across Ontario that are the major case manager in charge of these cases. So in the case of the homicide in Caledon, as soon as a homicide like that happens, a major case manager, which is a detective inspector, is assigned to that. And we have members from the Caledon Crime Unit working on it, as well as members across the province that are brought in to front load an investigation such as this. So a lot of resources. You mentioned the Peel and the fact that there's some ties with Peel. Again, I can't comment on, obviously, to protect the integrity of the investigation, but what I can comment on is that daily, whether it be a homicide, a traffic initiative, or any major investigation that involves 2 jurisdictions, we work closely together all the time. And I can tell you that there's not a day that goes by that my officers and the officers from Peel Police are not in contact with each other, working together. We are much stronger when we share our resources and share our knowledge and share our expertise. So in this case, this homicide specifically, we will continue to do so. And I want to mention, for those that are listening, that a big part of solving these homicides is community involvement. And what I mean by that is if people have information that they know about these cases, that I encourage people to come forward to share the knowledge that they have, because it is in the best interest of not only us that are here today, but for everybody that lives in our areas, to ensure that we live in a safe community. And we all have responsibility, whether you're a police officer or a civilian. We all take part in ensuring that our community is safe. So as we move forward with this investigation, I know that both Peel and the OPP are working together. But again, if the information that the public has right now, if they have information to share with us, please call us. We will happily take any assistance that you can give us in cases such as this.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Chief. Do we have one?
Thank you, Chair and Commander Kearns. I appreciate the comments. And just to top up Mr. Boughton on what Mary Louise had said, is that we do have a really remarkable connection with the OPP and particularly the Caledon detachment. On the date of the incident, Mary Louise and I chatted, throughout the day, and our teams are supportive of each other. There is a compounding effect across geographic areas that aren't defined by the boundaries of a municipality. So we, without a doubt, offer each other assistance throughout it. And there have been previous investigations where we've had to work jointly on, but as it pertains to this particular one, they've got the full support of Peel Police. I know the investigative teams from the division, from Mark's side, and also from Nick's side, are plugged in with their investigators within the detachment should there be any assistance needed in that regard. And so that particular day was a perfect example of how OPP, Caledon, and PRP were, our pulse was, monitoring what the needs were, if there was any support needed. And of course, as the investigation continues, they've got our full availability as needed. The OPP are a remarkable organization and do have some great capacity, as Mary Louise has mentioned. It's not just that they're taking some of our people from time to time, but
Okay,
Thank you.
through you, Chair. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Commander Kers. I think it's useful for the board to better understand what happens on something that's a major crime within Caledon. Thank you.
I think that everybody has to understand when you have cases like this, you have officers working 24/7 on a case such as this. And I don't even think people understand the remarkable commitment you have from officers, and they are so invested in solving any crime that they're involved in. But when you take someone's life, obviously, what we have to battle with as leaders is making sure our people worry about their wellness as well, because they work tirelessly to solve incidents like this.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from board members? Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and motion to receive the third quarter update, moved by Mr. Al Boughton, seconded by Mr. Ahmed Attia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just one other comment for all of you as we embark into the festive season. Whether you celebrate or not, I wish all of you a safe and happy holiday. To you and your families, please keep safe. And thank you for all the work you do to support this community as well. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? I missed that part. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. All right, so now moving to the Peel Police Services Board public agenda. Once again, I'll just do a quick roll call. I believe everyone present except for Mayor Crombie, who had to leave. Thank you so much. Any declarations of conflict or interest? Nope, we're good, perfect. I'm gonna now move it over to the chief's update.
Thank you. Good morning. And just on behalf of us as a team, I want to thank the board for their tremendous support for all our ongoing activities. There have been multiple community-related events that have different capacities, and I know the board is always present. And on behalf of our organization, our members, we do appreciate that tremendously. So thank you very much. And it's a busy season for those type of events. So thank you very much. From an operational standpoint, we have 3 updates. And it's going to be first, I'm going to ask Staff Superintendent Hiltz to begin, then Deputy DePatt and Deputy O'Duarty, if we can go in that sequence. Thank you.
Good morning. Through the chair, I'm proud to provide an update for our annual festival ride program. Those who chose to get behind the wheel while intoxicated put themselves and the public at risk. In 2023, our region has added 5 fatality collisions as a result of suspected impaired driving. Ride programs minimize the risk of those tragedies occurring. The sobriety test program is deployed in high-risk areas or high-risk times, such as the holidays, to detect if motorists that are under the influence while behind the wheel. Our ride program kicked off November 12th, 2023, and will end on January 3rd, 2024. In addition to our regular operations, we have committed 24 officers to the program and supported by 4 auxiliary officers per shift. An average of 12 to 14 vehicles are deployed per night to our ride program. As of November 21st, that has resulted in 3,066 vehicles investigated and 19 persons charged for impaired driving related offenses. Mothers Against Drug Driving MAD, is a proud supporter of the RIDE program, and I'm pleased to announce that MAD Canada is in partnership with Peel Regional Police. Committed to our community safety and well-being principles, Peel has become a community leader with MAD Canada in efforts to increase community awareness and the impact of impaired driving by alcohol or drugs. Further to our commitment to road safety, our organization has purchased 280 additional approving screening devices for our frontline officers. These additional devices will allow frontline officers to better position to enforce drinking and driving laws and work towards the region's Vision Zero goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Staff Super, and then Deputy DePatt, please.
Thank you, Chief, and through the chair, good morning, board members. I'd like to provide an update on our Community Crisis Rapid Response Team program. As you may recall, a year ago, we embarked on a pilot project with the Canadian Mental Health Association, Punjabi Community Health Services, and Roots for a program where mental health professionals would be dispatched right from our communication centers to respond to lower acuity mental health and addiction-related calls. This is, of course, a program that augments our already existing programs where mental health professionals are partnered with police in rapid response emergencies. We started the second phase of this pilot project on October 23rd. I'm happy to report that we're already seeing some positive returns. In fact, in the first 2 weeks, 50 calls were diverted right from our communication centers to this mental health team. And it equates to approximately 161 hours of frontline officer time that is now brought back to the comm center and distributed to our officers to respond to the matters that they're actually the professionals in. So, and then beyond that, the teams that are out there from the Canadian Mental Health Association are delivering the right services to the right people and at the time. And additionally, what we're seeing is 96% of those calls that are diverted are kept with the mental health professionals or other support agencies and not diverted back to the police. So we're really seeing some dividends there. And we're hoping by the end of the project, which will be in March of 2024, I'll be able to report back to you on a more fulsome note.
Thank you, Mark. And just to put a fine point on that, that type of response has been talked about in an Ontario-Canadian context, and it's a difficult one to do because you're depending on social service agencies to have the resources to be able to deliver it. And we're very fortunate that we're probably the only one here in Ontario that have it successfully deployed. And nationally, it is maybe, I don't even know if it's occurring, Mark, to that extent.
Not nearly to the extent, and I would say that the ministry is looking to this model as we build it out to see if there's something from a sustainability perspective. And they're looking at the Peel Regional Police and the partnerships that we've established with not only the Canadian Mental Health Association, but also from the culturally responsive lens that we're trying to deliver these services.
Good morning, and through the chair, I wanted to provide a brief update in relation to misuse of 911 calls and the discussion that has occurred at the Police Services Board meeting and in Regional Council related to fines that could be levied for members of any community which misuse 911 intentionally, which we would call frivolous or vexatious calls in nature. My team over the last month has done some considerable work on this piece because it does consider some of the issues related to the discouragement of calls to 911 as well as the administration of such a fine setup. And first of all, I just really must thank our call takers and communicators at the Peel Regional Police in particular, who take calls for all three emergency services, and thank them for their patience in dealing with this matter. They are amongst the best in Canada in what they do. The fact is, we do take about 40% of the misuse calls, and to fully support something additional in place, like a fine or a penalty for frivolous and vexatious calls is something that we do want to consider. I also want to remind the board just briefly that I have been chosen on behalf of the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police to lead a provincial group of public safety members, also fire and EMS, in the implementation of next generation 911 here in the province of Ontario. And our concerns for misuse calls, not just here in Peel, but across Ontario, have been submitted to the Solicitor General's office, who is very open in the development of standards and regulations that will consider fines, possibly in relation to next generation 911. But I think more sensitively is, what are we doing right now? And how can we immediately impact 911 misuse in our region? We've done an environmental scan across the country and found that 911 fines do occur in approximately 6 provinces across Canada, not in Ontario. The legislation and regulations come directly from the province, and fines range anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 for first and second offenses for misuse. What we are looking to do right now is study the impacts of what that would be like to administer from a PSAP, which is a public safety answering point. That is what we are here in Peel, and what would be the quickest and most efficient way to do that. We are finding, and Ms. Wilmot is going to help with the discussion around some of the legislation and regulation pieces on that. But we are finding that there is no PSAP in Canada that does implement a fine system. And so we continue to look into this. I want the board to be confident that, although I'm providing an update today on this matter, that we continue to look forward into the development of a program that will discourage the misuse of 911, and that will include the possibility of a fine program, whether it's locally here or provincially. And I think Ms. Wilmot has some information on that. And I'll be happy to take questions with more specificity into the nature of our work in this area.
Thank you. I do think Deputy O'Doherty covered it very clearly. The only thing that I would add is that this is not really a fine per se. It's more of a regulatory or a quasi-criminal offense, which properly, I think for everybody's benefit, would be appropriately administered under the Provincial Offences Act. When Deputy O'Doherty spoke to the other provinces that do this, there's 6 provinces, it's all administered under a provincial legislation, which creates a Provincial Offences Act, because it's a strict liability or regulatory offense. It would be very difficult for the board to administer this, because there's a certain level of the threshold being, as Deputy O'Doherty said, frivolous or vexatious, requires a certain level of intent. So, while I think it's clearly doable and important, I do think it's appropriately administered provincially rather than through the board itself.
Turning it over to Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. I am concerned about this, and I appreciate how much work you put into this, Deputy Chief O'Doherty. As you know, I visited our 911 headquarters, and it was just a zoo of activity. We are probably going to have to be one of the first police forces to figure this out, because this is not a typical volume of calls. And obviously, we've talked about this in the regional budget, about the concerns about wait times in 911, and obviously negligent calls. Nefarious calls are contributing to that. That 40% figure is staggering. Think of all the calls that might relate to a threat to human life, or someone's door being broken down, and auto theft is the Premier articulated today. That's on hold because someone calling about their cat or their TV not working. And so, why I don't think we should wait for the province to move on this is we're different. If you're, as I heard from our 911 folks, if you're in 911 in some small town, They get lunch breaks. They don't get lunch breaks in Peel. They're having coffees. In some cases, I've heard in other 911 facilities, they're having coffees and reading a book.
Yeah.
The reason we have high turnover, and this is a really hard job, and we need to look at every tool to make this easier. And this is staring us in the face, 40%. There has to be a way to do this. And knowing that some of us here have sort of two hats, I look to my right with Chair Yanika. If there's something we could do at a regional level or a local level to allow this, so we don't have to wait on the province. I'd love, I'd be the first to say I put forward a motion that whatever fines are collected flows back to the police for public safety. Frankly, it should flow back to 911 operations. We do it for fire. There's no provincial offenses that I'm aware of. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a provincial offense for negligent calls to fire that allows them to collect the fines?
So a municipal bylaw offense would also be administered under the Provincial Offences Act. So if it was done through the municipality, it would be considered a regulatory offense in the same way that a provincial offense is.
So if the region or the municipality passed a bylaw making it a municipal bylaw offense, then we could collect. I'll give you one example just to sheepishly say, but we've got an alarm system at my home, and accidentally one time it went off. It was our fault that it went off, and we got a fine from our Brampton Fire Department. Because it was our fault, I think it was entirely appropriate that we paid that fine. And so, frankly, this would really discourage. I know some cases it's just people having their phone in their pocket, and there's not ill intent there. But for people like you've played some of those calls, there is nefarious. There is just it's a waste of your time. And so, what I'd love to get back, and maybe we need to do this in the form of a motion at regional council. How we can enable this. And I guess my question would be to you, is this something that you would jump at if there was a move on a regional level to create a municipal bylaw offense for inappropriate usage of 911?
Thank you. And through the chair, I really want to be direct with my answer on this. And yes, we would support it. And I think part of the piece to being able to say that more confidently to you, sir, is that there are pieces of information which are still lacking that are coming to me. So part of that is, what is a percentage of pocket dials? Do they fall under a piece where those folks would be fined? What is the impact on the community in relation to mental health and folks who call out of distress, and how do we, and there's an administration piece. I think there's just a little bit more work to do that. I could get that done fairly succinctly, fairly quickly, and back in front of the board in a matter of weeks. And we currently have our superintendent in charge of communications out in Alberta actually discussing this very topic right now, and getting the provincial but national flavor. And I do want to double down on something you said, and I wholeheartedly agree with it, is that we are different here in Peel. Our pressures are very much different, aside from perhaps metropolitan Toronto and some other large urban centers in the West Coast are different from most other PSAPs right across Ontario. So we do need to do something immediate and something different. And so I just need that little bit more of information to come back at you with a very credible recommendation.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to identifying what that balance is. I understand there needs to be a balance, and I believe there'd be a lot of support for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I had,
Update, Ahmed Atia?
no, I just had
Question, please go ahead.
on this. I just, hearing Patrick speak about this, and that there's a precedence in our region. I also I think we should dig into this more, as you've just committed to. And I like to understand not only, as a fine as a fine being a mechanism to deter people, but what kind of educational campaign is necessary to ensure our residents understand the difference between emergency and non-emergency. There's a number of parallel things that have to happen in this to make it successful. And so, a more comprehensive response or proposal. And I think our board should continue to drive this. Is a very interesting idea. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more questions on that? Yeah, Mr. Albatten?
Firstly, Member Tia stole my thunder there, and I believe it is. Education is a big part of what we need to do. That starts right at the schools, and then with a lot of the with the diverse communities where maybe English is a second language for them to understand, and that may be part of the package that we're giving them to come in to stop it. When I was at communications with a number of the board members, and I actually took a photo of the screen. So for 2022, we had 993,591 calls through the communication center for 911. And Your Worship, Mayor Brown, a lot of this discussion started with you, and I agree with you 100%. I'd like to see us get to a point where we could get the calls down, and for the public to recognize, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Deputy, but 5 full-time people returning calls, 911 calls that are hang-ups or cut-offs or whatever, because you have to go back. And is that the right number, 5 full-time people doing that?
The equivalent of our time spent on returning 911 calls is 5 full-time communicators per month returning those calls.
Yeah, and to do the math, it's easy to say it's $500,000 annually. You throw 100,000 at it or more. So we've got it. I'd love to see a mechanism that we could do it, and along with Mayor Brown, in Caledon is if you have your security system fails. Something goes wrong. Happens to me, the wind blew and the latch wasn't on the door and they come. After the second time that it happens, there's no response. Caledon OPP puts you on the don't go to that guy's house because they're bad and they cut you off. We would never want to see that. However, if there's repeat offenders, how do you get their attention? And I guess that's with a fine, but I don't think we want to have a $50 fine and it costs us $2,000 to generate a $50 fine to somebody who might be a repeat offender. We've got to stop them, but we've got to be thoughtful about it going forward to get to the end game, which is less calls through our communication center, but to penalize those who are not doing it. So Mayor Brown, I support your position on this for sure, and I think we need some more work on it, but we've got to find a way to get those calls down and penalize people and educate along the way, as Member Tia said. The education, I think, is a huge part of it.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chair. And I think we have one more update through Deputy Milinovich, please.
Thank you, Chief. And through the Chair, my pleasure to provide an update to the board in relation to Peel Safe Center. On November 15th, myself and board member Carby had an opportunity to go and join our partners at the current Safe Center to announce an expansion into Mississauga. You will be familiar that our Intimate Partner Violence Unit shares a space currently at 60 West in Brampton, and currently approximately 50% of our calls for service in the area of intimate partner violence are in Mississauga. So for us as an organization, the opportunity to grow with our partners into Mississauga is a huge one, and one that we're very proud of and happy to see our partners accomplish, and also happy to join them in that expansion into Mississauga.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to mention congratulations on that as well. I'm sorry I could not attend, but really proud of the work that's being done there. And I know that we hear it even when we're in other regions of the work we're doing with that model here. So thank you for all that. I think, is that it, Chief? Perfect. Thank you so much for all the updates to all the deputies and the chief. Now I'm going to move it over to our board members' questions and announcements. So I believe, Mr. Len Carby, you had an update?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I do have a few items, so thanks for the indulgence of time on this one. This first one that you mentioned here was on my list, and so I'll move it to the top just to top up on what you had mentioned to say thanks, Deputy Chief Milinovich, for leading the partnership there with Safe Center and the expansion into Mississauga. I remember doing a tour of the facility in Brampton and being so impressed by the work that is happening there in partnership with Peel Police, but over 17 different community agencies operating under the same roof. And the important thing there is not that they're just in a shared space, but that the services are integrated, so that as it impacts community, someone finds support without having to move from place to place. And so I think that was really highlighted. So congratulations to you and the work that is being done in that community partnership effort there at Safe Center. And consistent with the idea of community partnerships, my second item then is around a growing partnership with another community agency called Acorn to Oak, which that organization invited, led by Pastor Pat Francis, welcomed our PRP chaplain Curtis Hines, some community, some peace officers, the Jamaican Consul General, and myself for a tour of the organization, just to highlight some of the programs and the impact that they're having in community. That organization is having a huge impact, especially in one of their programs around youth justice, which has become a model that is being patterned in Mississauga, in the Toronto region, and ultimately will go national, because the federal government is also reaching out to them around how to replicate that model in different parts. And so I want to thank publicly the leader there, Pat Francis, for the invitation to PRP and to the board to come in and see the programs which are happening. And consistent with that, congratulations to Superintendent Joshua Coley, who has been appointed to the board of that organization. And that, to me, is just leaning forward again into the strong partnerships which are happening between community organizations and PRP. The chaplain Curtis Hines and myself will operate in more of an advisory role, not voting members of a board or anything, but just advisor to the organization there. So I wanted to just thank them for leaning into that community partnership. And finally, I want to speak a little bit about the privilege that I had of participating in a workshop hosted by Community Safety Knowledge Alliance, which is a CSKA in Mississauga on November 22nd, which is 2 days ago. That's one of the leading research and thought leading organizations supporting government, policing departments around the development and evaluation of processes for safety in a community. The workshop was in collaboration also with the Canadian Police Knowledge Network, which again is Canada's leading police training and education unit. And the interesting thing about it was that they are looking at our Human Rights Project, which is a partnership between, of course, the board, police service, and Ontario Human Rights. And they're looking at that project as a model that could ultimately be setting the standard around community engagement and safety and well-being, and integrating, that's a justice approach towards policing. So Peel is actually leading in this space, and I thought it's noteworthy to make mention here of that. And I couldn't be prouder of the contributions of our staff superintendent, Dirk Niles, who was there, and Deputy Chief Anthony Duarte, and others from PRP who were actually leading the presentation over 2 days. These organizations are coming in to evaluate how Peel is leading in this way and using us as a best practice. So thank you for your work there and for leaning forward into that, and for demonstrating that police, how we deliver service can evolve. It can change, it can get better. And we are leading in that, and others are paying keen attention to that. So thank you so much for your work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Okay, now I'm moving to Mr. Amadati. I believe you had an update as well.
Thank you, and through the chair. Chief, I was hoping you could share some perspective on, the as you know, the ongoing events, the crisis unfolding in the Middle East has particularly impacted residents in Peel. But to zoom in on kind of the policing impact, we know that Islamophobia and anti-Semitism have been on the rise, and we know that's happening in our region. Communities have been calling for extra support. So just give us some perspective on how PRP has been supporting communities in the region as they navigate the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, and through the chair for the question, Mr. Attia. And yes, you're absolutely right. This is at the forefront of policing, nationally, and we're seeing some of the coverage of what's happening in Toronto, nonetheless. And my colleague Chief Demke has been commenting on it. Just as of yesterday, Deputy DePatt and I had the opportunity to host our Chiefs Resource Council, which is all the different community councils that we had together, and we spent some time speaking about what's happening here locally. So as we presented to regional council at the highest level, year over year, we've seen a 7% increase in reported hate crimes here in Peel. More recently, there has been an uptick, not to the scale that we've seen reported in Toronto, but there's two pieces to that. One is we first of all know that, and you and I have chatted about this, that we are aware that there is underreporting, obviously, as it pertains to hate crime. There is also probably an increased element of underreporting based on a fear of being stigmatized about why they're reporting it. So that is a new nuance that we've seen approach to it. We attribute some of the increase to the proactive efforts that we have had with our community in here. So I'll shift the discussion to what Peel Police has been doing, and one which we've come to the board several times. And I hope that the term and the name and the branding we give it doesn't become numb to us organizationally, but we have termed it our reassurance protocol. So first of all, I think the public and the community needs to know that we are wide open in every possible venue, either by having people self-report or us come to community agencies, places of worship, to ask if they're experiencing hate. I think we take every incident of hate and every hate crime absolutely seriously, and that takes the form of being followed on by an officer repeatedly, not from just the point of receiving the report, but there is a follow-on reassurance call to any individual or community agency that has had it. To that extent, we have committed the full resources of our Community Safety Wellbeing Divisional Mobilization teams to ensure we saturate community centers, places of worship, masjids, mosques, synagogues, and other places, schools particularly, where we have faith-based schools, with our presence. And just as of yesterday, Superintendent Chinzer had quoted a point that within the last 2 weekends, one weekend, a Saturday alone, our divisional mobilization teams attended 52 places on a Saturday, just so that they had our presence. So there's a side of being responsive and reactive to reported hate crimes, but we're wanting to do a proactive reassurance. And the feedback I know we've all gotten was, thank you for being there on Saturday or Fridays at prayers, or Saturdays or Sundays at worship. Thank you. We saw the cruiser in the lot. That meant a lot for us. We thought about not attending, but we see that you're there. So we know that, and at Peel, we have taken a really proactive effort of doing that, and it's not diminishing actually. We do see the vitriol nature of how people can perpetuate Islamophobia or anti-Semitism in social media and physically in our community. But we're thankful that our efforts have sort of maybe buffered it a little bit. That being said, people's concerns of how they feel are at its heightened, and we know that this has some longevity to it. So I think for the board and to use this platform publicly is that we, without a doubt, are committed to putting every possible resource there. The other impacts are also to the resourcing, in which I mentioned to the board in our council presentation, is the resourcing to allow individuals to peacefully gather in protests. I think, we've always taken the approach, our goal is to ensure that people are safe in any particular way. But if at any of those situations an act of hate is identifiable or visible, we are taking the stance. We've got the resourcing there to ensure that we maintain public safety, but have the ability to intercede and follow on, and if it's appropriate, on the spot or post the event, but to pursue any of the hate investigations, whether it be criminal or otherwise. So the public just needs to know that we will continue to support them in any capacity, whether it be in a public setting or in a place of worship or at their home, at any rate.
Chair, if I can, just a quick follow-up. One of the things getting to, there was a, Mississauga City Council this week had a motion, and they had a number of people come and do deputations, and I listened to it. And one of the things that was coming out was, there's Islamophobia, there's anti-Semitism, but there's also, many people talked about anti-Palestinian racism. And I think, the communities impacted by Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, just because of the history there, kind of have lines of communication and know PRP and know how to raise their concerns. And it seems zooming into like the particular Palestinian community who's impacted may not have that historical interaction and know how to address concerns that are coming out for their particular community. So maybe PRP needs to think about how they reach out to that particular segment of the community in Peel to understand the impacts on them and how, and hate crimes particularly target, if there are, or, what their experience in general are and what the support they need. Maybe there's an area there that we need to look at a bit more, just from hearing their deputations at the Mississauga Council. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. We, of course, if there is any opportunity to proactively engage a community that needs or hasn't had the natural pathways to communicate with, for example, Mark or Ish or Jody or the team, we would welcome that. In fact, and I think in the recent weeks, we've been either through community members have been drawn to a representative of a community that has not historically had an access to us, and we have independently engaged them because we have it not necessarily needs to be at a public forum, but we can absolutely do that. And so if this is, if there are viewers or people are listening, without a doubt, contacting us or any of the divisions or on, and Mark, I'm just clarifying on our public facing website, they have the ability to contact through the reassurance protocol, right to the community safety wellbeing branch. We will follow up with them. We can come into if their community group or place of worship, community center, school, or an organized set of individuals. We will physically come and speak to them just to walk through what we're able to do and willing to do. We recognize that.
I believe, Mr. Len Carby, you had something to add as well?
Yes, two items, a follow-up question to the chief, and then on a separate related item under our updates. In terms of the follow-up question, Chief, you have spoken well about the additional supports that is being provided by PRP to community in light of the protests and all of that. And I wonder if you could share a little bit of perspective around how that's stretching the resources of the service and could also impact increased cost, because I'm pretty sure you're being stretched to find supports for protests that may be happening, and it may be great that no incidents occur, but you have to resource that. How is that impacting cost and also stretching on the officers to provide those kind of supports?
Thank you, Mr. Carby. As it pertains to a response to individual incidents such as hate crimes and whatnot, it falls within what we would on a day-to-day basis do. But what we're seeing is the need to maintain public safety at peaceful gatherings, at protests, at vigils, and the large protests have a significant cost associated to it because the resources are above and beyond what we staff for on a normal basis. So it would, I know Lauren could probably speak to what thus far to date, year to date, or even just simply in the last 2 months. But I know some of our deployment because just to clarify, we have the ability to have specially trained officers that understand the proper ways to manage crowds. And that takes the form of and you'll have a presentation later, but our public order unit. Those individuals are resourced appropriately, they're thoughtful, they know how to safely manage them, and to deploy them, I know on a weekend alone, and we support our GTA partners also. That is amounting to sometimes up to, for a 1 weekend deployment of those resources, up to $60,000 for a weekend. And maybe Lauren and Nick, I'll offer it to you to speak to Mr. Carbody's comment.
Thank you, Chief, and through the chair. The short answer is yes, it does. It creates a draw on our personnel and our staffing. And to put that in perspective, since 2020, our public order unit and officers that are managing these types of events in our community have invested over 30,000 hours. So over the course of the last 2 years alone, over 10,000 hours, which equates to about 250 40-hour work weeks. And those are just hours and time, boots on the ground in helping our community be safe in these events. In addition to that, though, because of those pressures and the draw on our personnel, we've also started expanding our unit. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that later, but we need to grow in a way that's responsible to the pressure that currently presents itself. And based on those numbers alone, it continues to be a concern and something that we're growing responsibly in order to meet and manage.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you. Very, very succinct response, which kind of informs our thinking around having to resource the service to handle these pressures. On the second item, what I wanted to kind of raise, I know we had put out advisory and news release around the postponement of our consultations. That's the GHRC committee. And I wonder if we could use this opportunity here also to let folks be aware of that, that the consultations which were initially planned for November 28th have been postponed, and we will have this again in January and more consultations in the new year. I just wanted to use the opportunity here for those who may be watching.
Thank you, Mr. Carby. If there are any more updates from the board members, I just had a few, and I'm just going to, as the chief kicked it off, it was a very busy month. There was a lot happening, and I think there's been a couple of recognitions I want to put out there as well. So first, I wanted to mention that we were able to attend the ABLE Gala, and I want to do a big shout out to our Peel Police basketball team, and I believe their coach, Deputy Chief Mark Andrews, who will show us some moves later. But just a big congratulations that you won the Teamwork Award, and that everything the team does with the community engagement and outreach as well. If you wanted to comment on that, please feel free.
Thank you, Vice Chair. You caught me off guard there. So the award from ABLE was for the collective work of our basketball team that's been done over the past 30 years, with support from the board on a number of different occasions. The team is composed of both sworn and civilian members. We have a men's team and a women's team. And even through COVID and coming out of COVID, we've been more robust. But pre-COVID, we would participate in up to 25 or 30 games a year against high schools and fundraise for different causes. Raising hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of that time frame, and building significant, real, meaningful, authentic relationships with young people in our community. As a matter of fact, a number of the current players were people that we played against in high school. But the work done by the team has been outstanding. The award acknowledged that, and I'd like to acknowledge the entire team and the support of the board over the past 30 plus years.
Thank you so much. Another update I want to give is, and this is since our last board meeting, but we proudly held a Pride Gala right here in the region of Peel. And it was an amazing event and very well organized. And I know a lot of work went on it behind the scenes, but I know it was under the leadership of course, Chief Nish, but Deputy Edwardi, if I wanted to ask if you could just give a quick update.
Thank you. And through the chair, on October 21st, we did hold the largest Serving with Pride Gala ever, almost doubled in size from the year previous, close to 500 justice professionals gathered in Brampton to celebrate and support justice professionals throughout public safety in our province. And so we were very grateful to be given the opportunity to host it, and we look forward to contributing to next year's as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And one more shout out. We held the Peel Police South Asian Collective ISN Gala. Myself and board member Len Carby attended that. And it was, and of course, Robert Serpe and Angela Suri as well. It was amazing event. We sold out event. We had so many community organizations that were present and part of it. So all the work that you have been doing with that, it was under the leadership, of course, of Deputy Nish, Chief Nish and Deputy Milanovic and Deputy Mark Andrews, but I do want to do a quick shout out to the ISN team that did do a lot of work behind it. So I just want to do a quick shout out to the co-chairs, Chris Krause at Manjit Basran, as well as Harry Dillon, Paul Dillon, Darren Duty, and Anthony Mendoza. So thank you so much. And I know the SAAE is doing a lot of work as well, and the strategy's been kicked off. So I just wanted to open it up to Deputy Mark Andrews if you wanted to comment on that as well.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The gala was a tremendous success, and you know the work done by the team led by, and I know he doesn't want me to do this, but I have to acknowledge Inspector Harry Dillon and his work leading the team and being the driving force behind the gala, but also being the driving force behind our SACE initiative, which the gala is part of and supports. You know, the opportunity to connect with our South Asian community in a real and meaningful way is setting the template for other initiatives across our community in the future. And I think what we're seeing, what we're hearing from the community, this is something that we probably should have done some time ago. But you know, we're not going to reside in the past. We're going to look at the future, as the chief always says. And there are opportunities here that we're leveraging and will bear fruit for us in terms of how we deliver service to our community. And to steal another phrase from Deputy Milanovic, nothing for us without us. Our South Asian community is the largest community in the region, and we would be incredibly remiss if we weren't engaging them in developing solutions for our future.
Thank you so much. And finally, we did have a lot of service awards this year, many years of recognition awards. It was a very busy month, but great big thank you to just everybody who works so hard here, right here in the region of Peel. I think we even had to 40-year service awards. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that have been working a very long time, and we thank you for your hard work. Okay, so now moving on from board updates. It was a very busy start to the meeting. Approval of minutes of the board meeting held Friday, October 20th. Moved by Mr. Al Boughton, seconded by Mr. Amadatia. Moving on to, we have one presentation today, the 50th anniversary presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to, oh, perfect. Thank you so much, sir. Come on down.
Thank you, Chief, Chair. The 50th anniversary of the establishment of the Peel Regional Police Service is an incredibly important moment in our organization's collective history. We want to acknowledge, celebrate, and memorialize our history, and we want to do so in an intentional, thoughtful, and responsible way. As a result, we're looking at having 5 major events which will take place throughout the year, including rebranding several pre-existing events, which we will be leveraging to celebrate the great work done by our people over the past 50 years, and look to have those celebrations propel us into the future. We'll also use these events as an opportunity to fundraise for and strengthen our community partners. While RSM Cranley and Staff Sergeant Noonan will speak to the 5 main events, we're also looking for opportunities where synergies exist to celebrate the significant moment in our history. And we're fairly confident there'll be some opportunities. I've got some spinning around in my head, and I know the team has some ideas. And subject to your questions and thoughts, I'll turn the discussion over to the RSM and Staff Sergeant for further information.
Please go ahead, Staff Sergeant.
Thank you, Deputy. And good morning, Chair, and through the Chair to the Board. As the Deputy mentioned, I am Kevin Cranley. I'm the RSM of Peel Police, and with me is my colleague, Staff Sergeant Tracy Noonan. Thank you for your time this morning, and we're pleased to be before you today as the co-chairs of the Peel Police 50th Anniversary Committee. We're tasked with organizing a series of events that commemorate half a century of dedicated service to our community. We will provide you with a brief update on the plan to celebrate, communicate, and memorialize this historic occasion. Peel Regional Police has been a pillar in our community, embodying the values of integrity, service, and community partnership for the past 5 decades. The upcoming anniversary provides us with an invaluable opportunity to reflect on our service's achievements, acknowledge the dedication of our members, and strengthen the bonds between Peel Police and the community it serves. Our plan is designed to encompass a range of events, each with its own unique focus, providing opportunities for residents, PRP members, and stakeholders to join in these festivities. Additionally, our communication strategy aims to ensure that the variety of members from our diverse community are engaged and informed, fostering a sense of inclusivity and shared pride. Now, these events are not just about celebrating milestones, they're about making a meaningful impact. Through several events, we are channeling our efforts into supporting local charities. In the spirit of community collaboration, we are dedicated to making all the events as cost neutral as possible. We recognize the importance of shared responsibility, and that's why we're actively seeking external corporate sponsorships for the events that are not specifically designed as charitable draws. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Tracy to talk about our communications plan.
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning. As you're undoubtedly aware, Peel Regional Police came into existence at the same time the region did, as well as the cities of Mississauga and Brampton. On January 1st, 1974, the Region of Peel Act amalgamated the municipality police forces of Brampton, Chinguacousy, Mississauga, Port Credit, and Streetsville to form the Peel Regional Police. Our communications plan this year for next year's festivities for the 50th anniversary is comprised of 3 objectives. The first one is to build excitement in anticipation of a milestone event by effectively communicating to internal members and external stakeholders. The second one is to increase and foster engagement internally and externally, and highlight the achievements of our organization and contributions of civilian and sworn members. Our third is to highlight Peel Regional Police's history and our ongoing commitment to work alongside the public, community groups, and respond to the diverse needs of the community. Next month, we will initiate the rollout of our 50th anniversary branding, undertaking a comprehensive refresh of all of our corporate pages and social media accounts. Simultaneously, we will launch a series of internal and external communications aimed at informing both our dedicated members and the wider community about the upcoming 50th anniversary events. Our communication strategy is crafted with inclusivity in mind and deliberately targeting our diverse communities and collaborating with media partners. This approach ensures that our messages resonate across cultures and ethnicities, reflecting our commitment to engaging every segment of our community in the celebration of this significant milestone. The 50th anniversary decals will be placed on our vehicles throughout the calendar year of 2024. We have actually already begun this process, and we're scheduling to complete this in the new year. A comprehensive communication strategy has been created for events and throughout the year that speak to and address the communication objectives. Highlighting our merchandise, we have a merchandise committee that has curated a range of 50th anniversary items, including glasses, ornaments, hats, charcuterie boards, hockey pucks, T-shirts, hoodies, and thermoses. These will be available for purchase through our internal online store. Every member will be receiving a commemorative pin recognizing their service during our 50th year. Through Quartermaster stores, they will replace stationery with 50th branded items, reinforcing the anniversary spirit throughout the organization. Our 50th anniversary kickoff features 2 distinct events that cater to different aspects of our internal and external community. Both will occur on January 17th, 2024. The first one is going to take place at headquarters. This event, hosted at our headquarters, will have a VIP focus and serve as a media highlight. It is designed to bring together key stakeholders, dignitaries, and the media to mark this milestone. The headquarters event will involve speeches from the chair, the chief, the PRPA, as well as a number of others. Our second event is going to be held at 180 Dairy Road. This is going to be in the afternoon and will be more member-focused. This celebration will feature engaging displays with a nostalgic journey through our shared history, emphasizing contributions and dedication to our members over the years. This event is designed to create a vibrant and celebratory atmosphere, fostering a sense of pride among our dedicated members. In addition to these kickoff events, each division will have the opportunity to celebrate the 50th anniversary. Coordination for these divisional celebrations will be facilitated through the respective divisional enhancement committees. This approach ensures that each division has the flexibility to tailor their celebration to the unique characteristics and history of their divisional community. To actively involve the community in the kickoff, we plan to have members of the 50th Anniversary Committee present at various community events and PRP open houses throughout the year. Implement prominent branding at all divisional open houses, providing a visual representation of our shared history and commitment to the community. This approach ensures our community members not only witness, but actively participate in the celebration of our 50th anniversary together.
The next event will be our 50th anniversary mess dinner, which is scheduled for May 23rd, 2024. Mess dinner, it's a celebration deeply steeped in tradition, and the origins of a mess dinner come from a Commonwealth tradition. It brings all ranks into a formal dining setting, providing a unique and time-honored space where camaraderie, shared commitment, and unity take center stage. We will be this typically involves a guest speaker, and we're presently canvassing for a few options. In addition to our PRP members, invites for this event will be extended to the Police Services Board members and chiefs from neighboring services. This gathering serves as a demonstration of unity and collaboration across police services in our region and allows us to showcase our collective pride. As this is primarily an internally focused event, we are exploring partnerships to lower or eliminate costs to our members, and this will be held at the Millennium Banquet Hall, and it accommodates about 300 to 350 people. And just to reiterate, mess dinners are a tribute to our history and a celebration of our values that unite us. Events such as this one help to strengthen our collective culture and character within the organization. The next event will be what was traditionally known as the Chiefs Golf Tournament, which will be rebranded as the 50th Anniversary Golf Tournament on June 26, 2024. It will take place at Lionhead Golf Course, and it's not just a day on the course. It's a community-driven initiative that has a profound charitable impact. The Chiefs Golf Tournament in the past, and it's a fantastic opportunity for community engagement, bringing together individuals, stakeholders, and supporters. The main goal, raising funds that directly support our community safety and well-being initiatives, reinforcing our commitment to helping our community partners in an upstream approach. Over the years, this event has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. These funds have been a lifeline for our social service partners. The tangible impact of these donations reverberates through the community, providing essential resources where they're needed the most. In 2024, we'll continue in these efforts and add in the 50th branding in both giveaways and merchandise available for purchase. Our next event will be the 50th Anniversary Parade, which will be held on September 15th, 2024 at the CAA Centre in Brampton. This parade stands as a powerful commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the creation of PRP, a display of tradition, and a reflection of the enduring commitment of our service. This allows us a moment in time to come together and memorialize the 50th. This parade will consist of a military-style parade that involves an inspection by a reviewing officer. We currently have an invitation going out to the Lieutenant Governor, speeches, and a march past. For those present that have attended an Ontario Police College grad parade, the format would be very similar to that. There will be an open invitation to the public to join us at the 50th anniversary parade. This is a unique opportunity for residents to share in this historic moment, witness the pride of our officers, and engage directly with the members that serve them. There'll be a reception as well to follow. And last but certainly not least is the 50th anniversary gala, which again is normally known as the Chiefs Gala, will take place on October 10th, 2024. Much like the golf tournament, this gala is not just an evening of elegance, it's a powerful fundraising initiative that makes a tangible impact in our community. Over the years, this gala has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, all of which go to support pro-action cops and kids. This significant contribution fuels our commitment to, again, our community safety and well-being. These funds act as an investment to our community partners, enabling upstream approaches that target the root causes of social issues. The theme of the 2024 Gala will be celebrating our past, present, and future, and is certainly a fitting bookend to the year's events. In aligning our celebrations with impactful community initiatives, we've woven the fabric of our milestone with charitable actions. Seeking cost neutrality through corporate sponsorship, we're eager to share this milestone with our members, the board, and the wider community. And if there's any questions, we'd be happy to take them now.
Sorry, any questions from the board?
I'll just say, you know, this is very well done. Very excited about it. It's an important milestone, and we should look for ways, you know, through the chair, to Rob, we should look ways for the board to not just participate and attend, but to contribute to this, series of events. And so with that, I'd like to move to accept the.
All right. I do think there was Mr. Boughton also had. No, perfect. Okay, so moved by Mr. Atia and seconded by Mr. Boughton. All in favor? Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work that is going to go behind this, because that was a very busy year that's coming up. So thank you to all the teams that are going to be putting in all the work behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next item is police records check system. I'm going to move it to, the recommendation is to renew the contract. Any questions from the board? Comments? Perfect. Can I get somebody to move? Mr. Atia, and seconded by Mr. Carby. All in favor? Thank you. Moved.
Mr. Chair, we should just point out that we've discussed this report as a board. It's not just being, we've discussed it in detail.
Yes. Yes, it was discussed in caucus, and we've all shared our feedback as well. So thank you so much. Next is the Peel Police Services Board 2024 proposed schedule of Section 31 meetings. It was already included. Is everyone in favor? Okay, so Mr. Atia moved it, seconded by Mr. Boughton, and all in favor? Thank you. Moved. And that would be the adjournment of the public meeting. We'll have 2 minutes, and we're going to start right away in the in-camera session.